Coming up in tonight's bulletin, the Ministry of Finance and Treasury targets domestic and external sources to fill budget shortfall. Solomon Islands marks 30 years of CRC's ratification on World Children's Day, and the Marovo constituency boat project continues to boost local economy. Hello, you're watching SIBC's TV News Bulletin. I'm Sharon Nanau. The Ministry of Finance and Treasury is exploring both domestic and external financing options to address the current budget deficit, with plans to access up to $20 million under a World Bank guarantee. Simon Tavake reports.
The Ministry of Finance and Treasury is developing financing plans to address the current budget deficit, drawing on both domestic and external sources. Permanent Secretary of the Ministry of Finance and Treasury, Makini Dentana, told the Public Accounts Committee today. He said that under a World Bank guarantee agreement, the government can access up to $20 million with additional trading space of up to $500 million, targeting state-owned enterprises and the National Provident Fund.
We do have a financing plan in terms of filling the gap, both domestically as well as externally as well. So in terms of the domestic plan, apart from the bond markets, we also engage with commercial bank on the guarantee arrangement that's provided by the World Bank guarantee to seek financing loan the commercial bank, believe me. This is some kind of talking with the banks, touring them, providing etc. to participate not only on the guarantee but also on bonds, plus also other security markets like the treasury bills. So those are three domestic operations that MIFALA OSEM planning for domestic financing, especially. So in terms of the World Bank, we can go as far as US $20 million in terms of guarantee. In terms of the treasury bill, we have allowed space up to $500 million trading. Room up to $500 million space.
I'm Simon Tavake for SIBC TV.
Solomon Islands joined the global community in celebrating World Children's Day, marking a significant milestone 30 years since the country ratified the United Nations Convention on the Rights of the Child, CRC. To mark the event, Honorable Katinori delivered a keynote address highlighting the country's achievements and renewed commitment to child well-being. She reflected on 3 decades of progress, including the establishment of the Children's Development Division, the development of national child-focused policies, and the introduction of key laws.
Over the past 3 decades, we have taken many important steps to bring the convention to life. In the Ministry of Women, Youth and Children and Family Affairs, we established the Children's Development Division to coordinate national efforts for child well-being. We also developed the first national children's policy, and today we have an inclusive and forward-looking national children's policy 2023 to 2028. Putting children at the heart of national development. The government has also ratified the optional protocol on the involvement of children in armed conflict to strengthen child protection, prevent the recruitment of children under 18 into armed forces, and align with international human rights standards. We introduced key laws that protect and empower children, including the Family Protection Act, the Child and Family Welfare Act, the Sexual Offences Amendments to the Penal Code, the Education Act 2023, and legal reforms on adoption and marriage age. These laws strengthen safety, support learning, and reinforce the rights of every child.
Honorable Nori, despite the achievements, also acknowledged the ongoing challenges, especially in remote areas where services remain difficult to reach. She stressed that these challenges are not failures but reminders of the work still ahead.
But while we celebrate, we must also acknowledge the challenges that continue to affect our children. Some services, especially in remote and rural communities, remain difficult to reach. Data systems are still fragmented, which makes it harder to identify children most at risk. Shortages in staffing and resources slows down the delivery of essential support, not because of a lack of commitment, but because of the realities of our geography and limited infrastructure. Children today also face new and emerging risks from climate change, from displacement, and from the economic pressures facing many families. Rising sea levels, frequent storms, and changing weather patterns threaten schools, water sources, and community spaces. These are real concerns for the future well-being of our children. These challenges are not failures. They are reminders that our journey continues and that we must strengthen our collective efforts.
Now in Marovo, boats funded through a $6 million fisheries project continue to support families and local activity. 3 years after its rollout, Simon Tavake with more on this story.
In 2022, Marovo constituency in Western Province made headlines when its Member of Parliament invested $6 million into the constituency's fisheries project. Funded by the Solomon Islands government and the People's Republic of China, the project saw MP Chachabule Amoy distribute 160 boats, each paired with a 15-horsepower engine, to 160 beneficiaries. The initiative aimed to strengthen the constituency's fisheries sector, where marine resources are abundant and hold strong economic potential for communities. A highlight of the handover was the colorful flotilla of boats parading through the Marovo Lagoon, a sight that drew widespread attention. Three years on, beneficiaries across Marovo continue to use these boats, contributing to improved livelihoods, increased economic participation, and greater self-reliance.
Me fala using for ski, for fishing, yeah. And for you like go clinic no more, go market lo gas ini po padem selen. I'm not able giving me pala po. Engineer po look out them selen. Hem are really helpful because hem no man fala using for go fishing, and small engineers hem are good for you using because by hemi no take him using staka petrol ya. Hem by sabi sevi mi utumas. Hem po look out them selen hem. You pala using po sabi generate them selen believe. Because hem give come SQ with them too yeah, inside. Engineer para really help because time mi pala like go looking mot pikin lo mi pala school kam lo gato kaya ti o man like go hospital or like go ship lo gasini o sem ya. Hem no mo mi pala using and also if mi pala like go fishing lo di mota skis belum mi pala po go putem lo gasini o sem. Hem no mo mi pala using. You may must use him something because you may I mean privilege for you may have him something or sem. You know you may not pay him, so you must keep him what things here. You say me chance no then you may get him what things or sem.
Today, the boats are not only utilized for fisheries activities but continue to make a meaningful impact across the constituency. supporting various economic ventures and strengthening Marovo's local economy. Simon Tavake, SIBC TV.
Cooperation between the Solomon Islands and Wynnum Wolves FC has taken another step forward as Prime Minister Jeremiah Manele yesterday toured the club's facilities in Brisbane, future home of the Solomon Kings training base. Andrea Mahanua reports.
Prime Minister Honourable Jeremiah Manele yesterday visited Wynnum Wolves FC in Brisbane, where he inspected preparations underway for the Solomon Kings Australian training base. The Prime Minister was welcomed at Carmichael Park by Wynnum Wolves President Rabie Krayem, who briefed him on the facilities and the strong foundations the club has built in culture, coaching pathways and player development. During their discussions, both leaders reaffirmed their shared commitment to advancing the Solomon Kings project, which they described as an exciting new chapter for football in the Solomon Islands. President Krayem highlighted Wynnum's long-standing ties with the Solomon Islands and the club's dedication to supporting football growth across the Pacific. He also emphasized the significance of the upcoming Oceania Pro League, supported by FIFA, in elevating regional football standards. The Wynnum Wolves and SIF collaboration includes grassroots development programs for youths aged 10 to 16, enhanced coaching pathways, and international exposure opportunities. Prime Minister Manele thanked the club for its hospitality and reaffirmed his government's commitment to advancing the Solomon Kings project. He was accompanied by Temotu Nendo MP, Honourable Stephen Kumi, Foreign Affairs officials, Solomon Islands High Commissioner to Australia, His Excellency Robert Sisilo, and other senior officials. Andrea Mahanwa for SIBC TV.
Now, geopolitical tensions are reshaping development priorities across the Pacific, with the Solomon Islands emerging as a particular focus for international partners. Co-author of the Pacific Aid Map 2025, Riley Duke, said in response to being questioned on whether geopolitics has affected the way in which aid is now distributed across the Pacific region. He said that while many regions are experiencing significant aid cuts, the Pacific is faring comparatively well. Growing geopolitical competition has led to increased attention and funding across the island nations. In the Solomon Islands, this trend is especially clear.
It has, I think, in a few big ways. I mean, I think geopolitics to a degree has led to there being a big focus on the Pacific in general. I mean, when we look at all these aid cuts are happening, the Pacific is faring better, and I think in a small part, or to a varying degree, that's because geopolitics is also creating additional interests. For the Solomons, though, I think geopolitics is clearly a key focus for several partners. I mean, it's a thing that people can't stop talking about. But what it has meant is more competition for projects. And I think a key impact that it's had is that there's a lot of partners that are very, very interested in providing big infrastructure support, because it's big and it's noticeable, and it gets them on the map and it makes them very visible.
And now the latest in sports.
The Solomon Islands men's and women's football teams have bowed out of the MSG Prime Minister's Cup, currently underway in Papua New Guinea. The women's team lost 5-0 to Papua New Guinea in their semi-final match, while the men's team was defeated 2-1 by Vanuatu in their semi-final. Women's team head coach Daniel Barrett said the tournament has given him valuable insight into the squad, having been in the role for just over 4 weeks.
Yeah, look, I've learned a lot about my team. I've only been with them for about 4 weeks, so with World Cup qualifiers on the horizon, it was important I was here to take part in this competition. And I've learned what we need to do when we get back in order to prepare for the World Cup qualifiers. Oh, look, one thing that's super important is that I know the girls a lot better, which is, the first and foremost most important thing. I also know what I need in and around the squad in order to take the team further. And I wouldn't have learnt that if we didn't take part in this competition this week. Yeah, good. Privilege, honour to be involved in the competition. So I think culturally it's fantastic. And then an opportunity to play football games before World Cup qualifiers is so important to these Melanesian nations. And like I said, I've learned a lot out of this tournament. I got a lot of information on my team that I wouldn't have had if this tournament wasn't on.
Meanwhile, the women's team will face Vanuatu in the third place playoff, and the men's team will take on Fiji in the third place playoff this coming Sunday. Crofton Utukana, SIBC TV.
And that's news. Follow us on sibconline.com.sb and our SIBC News Facebook page for more of our latest stories. Thanks for watching.